fights with passion, and he inspires.
Are you ready for a war?
All right, welcome back to From 8 Arbitration. Got a long episode today. We're just going to talk today, all right? Just me and you. I'm going to have the Wolf on. He's going to be later. We have a good conversation. Now, James, let me tell you, he was wore out, man. He's had about 3 hours of sleep, so he was bushed. But we had a good time talking about some of the things that are going on. I'm going to talk a little bit about it today on this one, but me and you, we just need to talk, right? Sometimes we just need to sit down and talk to each other as Light Blue. And that's what we're going to do about all the things that have been going on. I haven't had a chance to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it tonight. But I've got some shout outs. We're going to start those first. One of the biggest things was the episode yesterday we put up, the women of the CLC. That thing got more comments than anything else I've done probably. And they were all positive. And I agree with everything that was said. The thing that James Henry has said is that his slate is going to be diverse. It's going to be filled with those individuals that fight and know how to fight. When I always talk about surround yourself with those on the same mission as you, you see what I'm talking about. The women of the CLC. And that was what we would call a home run. When you listen to those ladies, the struggles that they've been through, the perseverance, the fight that they have to get where they are and maintain that. And I couldn't be more proud of them to be on this slate. Some don't have a slate. They say, hey, I'm going to do it by myself. I can do it by myself. That's foolishness. And you see what I'm talking about when you hear these ladies talking. You've got to surround yourself with those on the same mission as you. Just saying, hey, all you need is me. That's all you need. Devastatingly stupid. Look at Renfro, what that's done. His mindset of, I'm the smartest one in the room. All you need is me. You have those. They say, hey, I don't need anybody. It's just me. James Henry has always said, it's not me, it's we. And you saw that in spades with yesterday's episode, Women of the CLC. Got a little shout out to them. Somebody sent me this. Congratulations to all the badass women on the CLC. Your episode on 323 was nothing short of awesome. As someone who has been a part of the Postal Service since 1997, I am proud of each of you. You have paid your dues, fought to get where you are, and God is going to bless you all with victory. I was thrilled to listen to each of y'all's history, and am so very proud to call you sisters in light blue. You're amazing and deserve everything that is coming your way. And that's just one of many that I got. One of many. And so, yeah, I told you before, James Henry is putting together a slate, diverse, impactful. These individuals on here are true street fighters, and you saw that yesterday. And so I was extremely proud. Another shout out. This one was about a JSOV case, and I'm going to read a little bit about it. They sent me an email, and so I'm going to read this. It says, attached is the PDF file regarding the arbitrator's decision of Michelle Giles Polk. Ms. Polk has violated the JSOV numerous times and has repeatedly been found guilty of threats, harassment, bullying, and intimidation. As you can see, Ms. Polk has removed 6/12/23 from supervisory work in Illinois 1 District or any office represented by NELC Branch 11 for the remainder of her postal career. This was due to the fact that she was grooming a female RCA who's kept rebuffing her advances. Side note, Joliet is the shithole of the district. Anytime a supervisor gets removed from an office, district's response is, just throw them to Joliet. She comes to Joliet and starts her shit all over again. The final straw is putting her finger in city letter carrier Mike Brown's face and repeatedly yelling, shut up, shut up, shut up, punctuating each shut up by jabbing Brown in the face with her finger, then grabbing the collar of his shirt and finally grabbing his nipples, pinching and twisting them. As you can see from the award, I testified as I too was sexually assaulted in the post office 20 years ago, and having her do this triggered me. As you can also read, Polk was verbally abusive, volatile, threatening towards carriers, insulting, prone to inappropriately sexualizing exchanges with subordinates, and was verbally degrading towards subordinates. The service failed to take effective steps to either control her conduct or remove her from a position of authority. Arbitrator Doyle O'Connor states, based on the totality of the evidence, each of the alleged incidents asserted in the grievance process is deemed substantiated. As O'Connor also states, Ms. Polk is an individual who is incapable of comporting herself within the ordinary bounds of personal interaction. In conclusion, Mr. O'Connor states that Ms. Polk contradicted herself on the stand and blatantly lied under oath. Now Ms. Polk is removed entirely from Illinois 2. She can't even come into Joliet lobby to buy stamps. She is barred from ever supervising an NALC letter carrier either directly or indirectly the remainder of her postal career. Also, I find number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 outlined in Mr. O'Connor's decision very interesting. Now to the shout out on your podcast to our incredibly knowledgeable union steward, Caitlin Magruder. I'd like to give a huge shout out to our incredibly knowledgeable and talented union steward, Caitlin Magruder, in Joliet, Illinois, Branch 305. This young lady put together an over 300-page arbitration against a supervisor in Joliet, Michelle Giles Polk. Ms. Polk was originally removed from Illinois 1 due to threats, bullying, harassment, intimidation, and sexually assaulting, grooming a carrier. Instead of Ms. Polk being removed altogether from the United States Postal Service, she was somehow dumped in the Joliet, Illinois office. Had you or I been done a fourth of what she did, we would have been handcuffed, walked out, and terminated. Ms. Polk then arrives in Joliet and starts her sexual deviant behavior all over again. Ms. Magruder worked tirelessly on this case. She put in hundreds of hours of her own time for the good and safety of our branch members. She interviewed dozens of people, gathered statements, and made sure this case was so airtight that even a fart couldn't get through it. It was all along road, but Ms. Magruder eventually got Ms. Polk removed entirely from Illinois 2 on March 16th of 2026. We as a branch cannot thank her enough, as now carriers can come to work and not be subjected to sexual predator. I'm so proud to call her my union representative and friend, and I know she'll definitely go far in the union to make sure that every member is protected and safe. In solidarity, April Getzelman. And so, what about that shout out? What about that shout out, Caitlin Magruder, that took her time? You want to be good or you want to be great? That's what we say all the time, right? You can be good. Anybody can be average. You want to be good or do you want to be great? If you want to be great, it takes that time, that hustle. And here you hear the outcome of this individual saying, hey, it's about my carriers. It's about light blue. So I'm going to put that work in and make sure that this thing is airtight so when we get in there, this predator, this bully, will be addressed once and for all. As Arbitrator Roberts said, a final resolution to an ongoing problem. And so, very good, very good. And there's your shout out, Caitlin Magruder, from everybody across the country. Thank you for what you did. Because, just like this case here, this individual is a problem, and what they do, move them. And then they'll move them again, and then they'll move them again. But you took the time to make sure that this predator, this bully, got it. Okay? And so that's exactly what we need. And we talk about the dogs of war all the time. This is what it's about right here. Making sure that any kind of resolution that has come before will be put in some form of database. That way we can track these predators, these individuals all across the country, keep the case file rolling on them, and get them. So Caitlin Magruder, way to go. Way to kick ass. Got another one, and then I'm going to get into what we're going to talk about, because it's going to be some salty ass shit. Because, you know, I'm going to get into it in a second. I'm not going to start right now because, hell, I'll forget this other thing. Postal Rosies is a brand new podcast hosted by Kathy Bodner from Branch 580 and Kim Bess from Branch 1128. So Postal Rosies is a brand new podcast hosted by Kathy Bodner from Branch 580 and Kim Bess from Branch 1128. The podcast covers real issues facing women in the workplace and in leadership roles. Inspired by the grit and resilience of Rosie the Riveter, Kim and Kathy dive into real stories behind the uniform, stories of leadership, advocacy, and empowerment. We weren't invited to the table, so we built our own. Any feedback would be greatly appreciated. And so there you have it. Postal Rosies is a brand new podcast hosted by Kathy Bodner from Branch 580 and Kim Best from Branch 1128. And I probably will have Kathy on before too long. She wants to talk about it. And so, yes, a brand new podcast by two fantastic young ladies, and it covers the real issues facing women. So you have Women's History Month, right? You had the women of the CLC on last night. You got podcasts coming out promoting women. And so that's a fantastic, fantastic thing. And I'm going to get in somebody's ass because, I don't like Renfro. Everybody knows that. Anybody knows me knows I don't like that son of a bitch because of what he's done to us. But you take a look at the two main people that are running for president. Now, he hasn't come out and said he's running, but everything aligns to him running. Initially, I didn't think he was, but the way he moved all these rap sessions to the beginning of the year so that he could get out there and politic on the union's dime. And it just, maybe he is. You keep hearing these things about one or two different slates coming out still. Doesn't matter. But if you look at the two individuals, if he does running for president, you got James Henry and you've got Brian Renfro. James Henry has shown you that he is about diversity. He is about getting the best available. And you heard that yesterday on the Women of the CLC episode. Brilliant, brilliant minds. And you heard them. The passion, the love that they have for the city letter care for light blue, for the advancement of light blue. Very powerful women. And James Henry wants to make sure that those are elevated and promoted and that they are honored with their achievements. And so you heard that. Then you have Renfro, the exact opposite. If you get into the Weir report, you see that he's a womanizer. He called my friend, Susie Miller, a bitch. And then you also see with, when we had the COP, you had Melissa Rakestraw go up there and challenge him at the mic, and he yell out that she's a liar and, trying to talk over her, trying to belittle her. And so you have two different individuals, how they treat women. James promotes them, and he uplifts them. He says, you have a seat at this table. And that's proof positive with that episode. The other belittles them. He's a womanizer. If you don't do what he says, he calls you a bitch. Those things are proven. That's in the Weir report. That's nothing new. So you have the two individuals, and you'll still have people that will vote for that sack of shit over James Henry. Two individuals, exact opposites how they treat women, right? One with respect and dignity. The other, complete disrespect. And so that's what we're dealing with. But I'm going to get in this motherfucker's ass again today because, one, I can. This is my podcast. And two, how he handled the situation with the Postmaster General. And I'm going to get in that ass, okay? I don't like the establishment. I just don't. I don't like those that have sided, and people are always like, well, what is the establishment? What do you think, what do we call the establishment? What is that? To me, the establishment is this, and it's very simple. This is the establishment. If you are in a position to where you have to make a decision for the city letter carrier or for Brian Renfro, and you chose Brian Renfro, you're the establishment. Because at every position, if you're receiving money from me and my dues, you work for me. That's just how it is. You work for me. Business agents, you work for us. Resident officers, you work for us. The president, you work for us. So anybody that receives that money based off of my hard work, based off of my sweat, you work for me. And if you sided with that sack of shit over the city letter carrier, you're the establishment, okay? And so that's just as easy as I can explain it to you. You have individuals that are the establishment, and we're going to go after them. Why? Because during the worst part of our tenure, these last 3 years, which have seemed like 30 years under this sorry-ass president. You've had the executive council, a lot of them, protect the bastard. That's just what you have. You had a lot of them that have stepped up. They have violated the Constitution. I've read that to you, where you had Renfro and Barner going around soliciting people to vote against the Constitution when charges were filed against them. You always go with the Constitution, right? You don't ever not go with the Constitution. Those are the checks and balances. And so when you have that, you have the establishment. When you have those individuals that say, hey, I'm not going to go by the Constitution, I'm going to go as my president tells me to go. That's the establishment. I'll give you a case in point. I had an individual on my podcast some time ago, business agent of Region 2, Vafiades. Good guy, establishment lackey. He is one that has continuously voted against the Constitution to support and protect Renfro, right? He came on my podcast trying to sell me on what a good guy, what a good job Renfro's done, what a good guy he is, that he didn't see that he had ever been untruthful. And then I pulled those receipts out, remember? And I start going down the list of lies that he told us, documented lies that he told us after he was on the record saying that he was truthful and honest, right? That's establishment, that's lackey. Establishment will always protect establishment. Believe that. Now, you'll have people like, I believe Mr. Vafiades was on some show the other day doing a question and answer period. The establishment will always protect the establishment. Pay attention to who protects the establishment, right? Pay attention. If you know what I'm talking about, look and listen. The establishment will always show themselves. They will always protect the establishment. Me, I'm anti-establishment. I believe you go by the Constitution, and you, above all else, you put the city letter carrier first. There is nothing second, right? You love the city letter carrier with all your heart. If you do those things, the Constitution, no issue. We have the JCAM, right? That's our protection against rogue management. We have the Constitution. That's our protection against rogue establishment or executive council. The only protection the city letter carrier has is the JCAM and the Constitution. It protects us against both sides. It protects us against the service and against our agent. And when you have those things being violated continuously, like the JCAM, it's being violated continuously now. And our union is encouraging that by their mindset, by their lack of fight. You have the Constitution, and you have the executive council dismissing what the Constitution says, like Mr. Vafiades, when he votes against the assigning an investigator, that they're just going to dismiss the charges without even hearing those or assigning an investigator to them. You have those things. And what we're going to get rid of is the establishment. You've got to get back to where the Constitution matters. It's the only protection the city letter carrier has, right? And so we're going to get rid of the establishment. We're going to go by the Constitution. You have those that want James and I to intervene in different things, going against the Constitution. I will never go against the Constitution. I had individuals saying I'm going to lose votes because I will not go against the Constitution. I will lose an election before I go against the Constitution. It's the only safeguard the city letter carrier has. It's the only protection the city letter carrier has against rogue establishment, rogue executive councils, right? And so if they cost me the election, so be it. I'll deliver mail for 6 more years and I'll be out. Okay, so always go by the Constitution. But pay attention. The establishment will always show themselves. They will always protect the establishment. Okay? I'm going to read something to you. I'm going to read something, then we're going to get into some ass. Okay? This is Article 1. I'm going to read this, and you remember this as we go along, okay? I've read this before. Page 1-1, Article 1. The Postal Reorganization Act of 1970 transformed the Post Office Department into an independent establishment of the government of the United States. The United States Postal Service, okay? Not United States Postal Business. It's the United States Postal Service. Now, this is going to go hand in hand with what we're talking about with the PMG. The PRA also gave postal employees, now that's Postal Reorganization Act. If you see PRA, that's Postal Reorganization Act. Also gave postal employees the right to bargain collectively over their wages, hours, and working conditions. The law states that the Postal Service shall accord exclusive recognition to a labor organization when the organization has been selected by a majority of the employees in an appropriate unit as the representative. This PRA mandate followed the concept of exclusive recognition that had long served as the basis for collective bargaining in the private sector. The doctrine holds that only one labor organization can represent all employees in such unit for the purpose of collective bargaining in respect to rates of pay, wages, hours of employment, or other conditions of employment, Labor Management Relations Act, Section 9A. Here we go. NALC is the exclusive bargaining agent representing city letter carriers. The NALC, National Association of Letter Carriers, is the exclusive bargaining agent representing city livery carriers. Although NALC membership is not limited to the members of the city letter carrier craft, NALC is the exclusive representative of all city letter carriers, the only organization entitled to represent letter carriers in their collective bargaining relationship with the U.S. Postal Service. Despite the doctrine of exclusive representation, Article 17.2e provides that a steward may be designed to represent a craft other than the steward's own if the union involved approved, notify the Postal Service in writing. So, the NALC is our agent. We're separate, right? We're city letter carriers, and we have our agent that we have chosen to represent us. We're not one and the same. Now, we're all the union, right? Pay dues. We're all the union. But the NALC is the ones that we have chosen to be our agent to represent us. And so a lot of the anger that I've shown over the last few years is because my agent has not been representing us, specifically our president. And I'll give you a for instance. And these things, and this is part of the thing, just chapped my ass when I read it, because of just the complete sack of shit this guy is with things he says. Here's something that was put out in the Postal Record. NALC will continue leading advocacy efforts, and I think I talked about this with James Henry later. Advocacy efforts for necessary policy and administrative changes to stabilize the agency's finances, NALC President Renfro said. Remember that. However, we will fiercely fight limiting letter carriers' workers' compensation benefits in any way or increasing uses of non-career employees in our craft, as some in the hearing suggested. He's talking about the Postmaster General. Even suggesting such foolish actions are insulting to America's hard-working letter carriers. Local postal management's lack of contract compliance cost the agency hundreds of millions of dollars. An agency that struggles to uphold the basic tenets of mutual agreement should not have sole control over something as critical as workers' compensation claims. The current non-career workforce in the city letter craft is a failed experiment. Y'all hear that? The current non-career workforce in the city letter carrier craft is a failed experiment. We'll keep fighting like hell for a secure future for the Postal Service. But we'll fight even harder against those who push any changes that would potentially harm our dedicated, hardworking members, he said. Following the hearing, NALC will submit comments for the record. I'm going to read that last part again. The current non-career workforce in the city letter carrier craft is a failed experiment. Now, whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? The current non-career workforce in the city letter craft is a failed experiment. Failed experiment? Whose fault is that? We had an opportunity to address that. And here's where I'm going. I'll just cut to the shit, okay? We'll keep fighting like hell for a secure future for the Postal Service, but we'll fight even harder against those who push any changes that would potentially harm our dedicated, hardworking members. What the fuck is he talking about? Does anybody know? This fight like hell bullshit? Current non-career workforce You had an opportunity to address that back in the last TA when we voted it down, because you told us that you're going to fight for an all-career workforce. So it's not a failed experiment. You did it. You did it when we voted it down. This constant bullshit of fighting like hell. When I talk about these last 3 years, just off the top of my head, you've got the issues with the scanners that was incorporated by 1983. That's something that he didn't see coming. We're going to regurgitate a lot of stuff I've been bitching about for a while. But when I see this shit written, just like this one right here, he says, and this is kind of the mindset that I'm talking about, and this was in the last postal record. While last month signified the ceremony kickoff of negotiations, the truth is that NELC is in a constant state of bargaining with the Postal Service. We perpetually exchange ideas regardless of where we are in the contract or negotiation cycle. Collective bargaining isn't a series of a few pre-scheduled meetings that finalize everything. It's constant conversations with our counterparts at the Postal Service. The work of our bargaining team never ends. I'm honored to lead this team in its work on behalf of our 200,000 active carriers. Now, I think all this is copy and pasted off the last time this motherfucker was in collective bargaining. While our work on collective bargaining is constant and our fight for a fair contract that meets our members' needs is central, it isn't our only battle. We cannot forget that other threats remain, and we must always keep our defenses and offensive ready. We are dealing with a Postmaster General who is less than a year into the job, an administration that has proven to make hasty decisions, one that have not been friendly to our fellow federal employees, and a Congress that struggles to agree on anything. All these factors amounts to uncertainty. That's why we're always on the lookout and are ready to fight back if anyone tries to come after our jobs, retirements, the universal network, or anything else that affects letter carriers' future. Fight back. That's why we're always on the lookout and ready to fight back if anyone tries to come after our jobs. As president of our great union, it is my job to be truthful about the challenges we face while doing everything possible to achieve the best outcomes for our members. If you're a leader in your state, region, branch, or station, you know that being a leader naturally brings feedback and criticism. But you likely also know that despite anything else, your sole goal is to serve your members the best you can. Now, this is this motherfucker. I'm fixing to read a list of shit that this motherfucker's done to us. Sitting here with this bullshit. Certainly somebody else wrote this for this motherfucker. That is my goal in this round of collective bargaining in every single fight we face. I'm committed to doing what is the best interest of letter carriers and our union at the bargaining table and in every arena we enter. Now fight back. That's the problem. We're always fighting back. When are we going to go on the offensive in this bitch? When are we going to go on the offensive? We should have been out to the public, telling them what's happening to us, telling them what's going on. We should have been out there. Now we've gotten beat to the punch by a Postmaster General who has saturated news media with "we're going broke." That's all people talk about. They've saturated. I've been begging us to get out to the public and tell them who we are, what we do, why y'all need us. The public loves us. We haven't done shit. Why? Because we fight back. Quit fighting back. You're going to fight like hell. Get out in front of it. That's what you do. Now look at you. You got the Postmaster General has beaten us to the punch. They control the narrative now. And what have you done? You're going to write something. Is that what the motherfucker said in here? Let me get that back up in here. Following the hearing, NELC will submit comments for the record. Who in the fuck cares about that? Submit comments for the record. Who in the fuck's going to read them? You should have been out there telling people, look, hey, I'm going to get to that in a minute. I'm going to get to that shit in a minute. I'm going to read some shit. But you got this motherfucker saying that is my goal in this round of collective bargaining and in every single fight we face. I'm committed to doing what is the best interest of the letter carriers. What about the scanners? Now this is just this motherfucker talking about I'm going to fight for everything for y'all. I'm going to fight for everything. Okay? Let's see what kind of fight this motherfucker's put up in the last 3 fucking years. The scanners. The amount of abuse we've taken off of that based off something he did to us, 1983. Putting in there that you can watch us jointly. You don't ever do shit like that. You never put in a fucking memo that anybody can watch us on the street. We have contract provisions that protect us from that. 134 of the M39 handbook. Now that's the fight this motherfucker's talking about, right? I'm going to fight for y'all everywhere. Okay. What about the certifieds and the DPS? Do you know why he didn't fight that? He told you why he didn't fight that. Because he reduced our fixed office time to 20 minutes. And in justifying that 20 minutes, he said, now they put certifieds in the DPS. So I agreed to 20 minutes of fixed office time on the new joint process, which I hear is fixing to come out. Certifieds in the DPS. He agreed to that. That changed the work method for us. That took away office time. If you didn't see, being as you're fighting all the fucking time, that management's trying to do everything humanly possible to get us out of the office. Just got several things today about 45 minutes office time. They had the hour office. We fucked that up to hell. Now they got 45 minutes on every whiteboard. Nothing from this motherfucker about that, but yet he's going to keep telling us, I'm going to fight for y'all every fucking step of the way. At what point are you going to start fucking fighting, and what are you going to do? You got Brother Gates. Don't even get me started on that. You got Brother Gates, and do you know who he sounded like? Management. That he sounded like management on his response to Brother Gates. What did he say? They're just wanting a pound of flesh. That sounds like something management would say in arbitration to an arbitrator. The union today has expressed a lot of hatred and a lot of angst and a lot of this and that. Mr. Arbitrator, they're wanting all this stuff. They're just wanting a pound of flesh. That's what labor would say. And your president is saying that to us about Brother Gates dying in somebody's yard when we're raising hell nationwide. You got Kemitra Simpson Lewis down there raising hell on Brother Gates' behalf. Your president, what's he saying? They're just wanting a pound of flesh. That's something labor would say. What about HIP? What about HIP when they falsified that? That should have immediately gone to a national arbitration. They intentionally falsified HIP. Nationwide. What did he say? Another labor term. Well, there were some discrepancies. Do you know what labor would say in an arbitration if we took that to arbitration? Do you know what they would say? Mr. Arbitrator, they're saying that it was intentionally falsified. Now, there were some discrepancies, but it wasn't intentionally falsified. There were some discrepancies. This motherfucker is labor. That's what labor would say in arbitration. And he's talking about he's going to fight like hell? When? For what? You got stationary events. We've been bludgeoned with that shit. Stationary events. Do you know what he says? Something labor would say in arbitration. When people approach him like, hey man, they're beating the hell out of us on these stationary events. What are we going to do nationally about that? Well, it is an inconvenience. That's something labor would say in arbitration. Mr. Arbitrator, look, we know that stationary events, being questioned by those things, could be an inconvenience at times, but there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing contractually wrong with it. It can be an inconvenience with management getting on the carriers and questioning them. It's not about questioning us. It's about berating us all the time. That's Section 134 of the M39. It's a violation of that, spying and using covert techniques. But since this dumb fuck signed it into existence with 1983, they came out with this metric about stationary events. This motherfucker tucked tail and run. He ran from it. We wrote letters to him about it. It's an inconvenience. That's something labor would say. What about an hour office time? This metric. What did he say about that? That's something that they're beating the hell out of us on right now. You got now 45 minutes, and I read something the other day, 30 minutes. At what point in time is this motherfucker going to fight? I think that's what he said. That is my goal in this round of collective bargaining and in every single fight we face. I am committed to doing what is in the best interest of letter carriers. At what point does that start, bitch? When does that start? You got these parameters. The 22-minute load times and the parcel delivery times. Do you know who did that? The guy who's fighting for y'all. Do you know who to put that into existence? Who signed that into existence? The motherfucker who keeps telling y'all he's fighting for y'all, that's who did it. What's happened since then? They immediately got out of T-Rap. They didn't give a fuck about that. They wanted to get back to 6-day count so that they could take as many routes out as possible, so that when we come out with a joint process, it'll probably say any of these grievances that are in the process will be handed over to the joint process teams or whatever. I would look for that shit to come out. But what about these parameters? He did that. This is the same motherfucker talking about, we're going to fight like hell. The TA. What about the TA? Is that somebody who you think is fighting like hell for y'all? What happened during that time? We beat that to death. 700 days of lies. And you got Vafietas coming on here saying, I don't think he's dishonest. I don't think he's a liar. My God, get up off of him. Good. You got to be tired from carrying this motherfucker's water. Good God. I don't think he's untruthful. Motherfucker said it's going to be an awkward workforce, a non-starter, and he fucked us over. That's a lie. He said that the CCAs are going to get a substantial starting wage increase. That's a fucking lie. Everything he said was a fucking lie. And you got people coming on my podcast. I don't think he is untruthful. Motherfuck. What the fuck? And he's running for business agent. You got people sitting there putting him on their show. The establishment's always going to protect the establishment. But what about the TA? What about that shit? You had MBAs trying to sell us on that. You had branch presidents trying to sell us on that. Remember the hell we were raising about that, about the soup line? Table 2 carriers, do y'all think he fought for y'all? When he sold y'all down the fucking river? Table 2 carriers, what about it? Did he fight for y'all? What about CCAs? Did he fight for y'all? All career workforce, did he fight for y'all? Full colas, did he fight for y'all? When is this going to take effect? We're going to fight like hell. When does that start happening? I know the motherfucker, when we went into this round of collective bargaining, already started prepping us for getting fucked. He's saying they're broke. I've done all I can do. It's not looking good. What about the cease and desist? What about that shit? Is that fighting like hell? Doing away with the cease and desist to protect management because they don't know how to fuck to abide by the contract? Do y'all think that that's fighting like hell? What about the backlog of grievances? That's solely on him because James Henry had that under control. He removed him because he's a bitter little bitch, and he put Barner in there, who fucked it up, took him out, put Toth in there, who really fucked it up. Now they have no answer for it, don't know what to fucking do. Management has taken control of that, and we're fighting like hell. About what? What is this motherfucker's definition of fighting? Does anybody know? What's the motherfucker's definition of fighting? That's what I want to know. And I get like this because I read this stupid shit in the Postal Record. I'd be fine if I didn't read that shit. Just going to say, I'm a punk ass bitch and be done with it. And I wouldn't be mad. I'd be, yeah, you're right. You are. You know, I'm not mad at you. You are a punk ass bitch. No, motherfucker wants to come out and tell me and everybody else in light blue who's out there doing the fucking work, I'm fighting like hell. I'm so sick of that fucking shit. Fighting like hell. Motherfucker ain't shown me one thing in 3 years he's fought for. The only thing he's fighting for is to make sure that his picture is in every fucking magazine that comes out. That's the only thing this motherfucker's fighting for. I want my picture in everything. What's this over here? That's Women's Month. Put my picture in that. What's this right here? Well, that's the food drop. Make sure my picture's in that. What's this over here? Well, we're selling ice cream. Put me a cone in my hand. Put a picture on that. That motherfucker's doing all the fucking fighting to put his picture on shit. He hadn't fought the first fucking time for the city letter carrier. And you still have motherfuckers vote for him. I'm going to play a clip. I'm going to play a clip from the Postmaster General. And this is one of the things I'm talking about. You remember long ago, and everybody laughed because it was funny. I called them possums. I said my union leadership is possums because any fight that comes up, motherfuckers play dead. I just read you a list of shit right there, right? From your president. Any fight that comes up, this motherfucker plays dead. He wants to talk about fighting back. Let's get out in front of it. Let's get out in front of the fucking fight, okay? I'm going to play a clip. This is a little clip from the Postmaster General, okay? And this is what he was talking about. Just a small clip. Now, there's a bunch of stuff to it, but this is just a small clip. Let's see if I can find it. And just listen to this. I'm going to talk about it.
4 years, we have about 35,000 fewer employees. And we're moving toward more of those employees being pre-career rather than career. There's two ways we can really save money here. That's changing our mix of career and non-career, more toward non-career.
So about part-time and full-time, right?
Correct, basically. And the other is overtime, both regular overtime, penalty overtime. You know, those are $100 to $150 million for every percentage point you move them. So that's where we're focused. But you're absolutely right. We have to look at everything.
Okay, so he said $100 and $150 million, looking at doing away with overtime and going to kind of a part-time workforce. Okay. Those are percentage points. Each 100 million to 150 million is a percentage point. Do you know that these motherfuckers could have saved 8 percentage points if they would have abided by the contract? If they would have complied with signed grievance settlements, they could have saved 8 percentage points. Why? Because there was almost $1 billion lost in noncompliance. You're talking about $100, $150 million. That's a percentage point. If I'm Renfro, I would have immediately come out and said, hey, look, I know all this shit he's talking, but you could have saved 8 points immediately by complying with the contract, by complying with signed grievance settlements. Let me tell y'all, let me give you this figure. This is astonishing. And I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Somebody research this and see if I'm right. You got $840 million lost, okay? That's a huge sum. Here's this sum, okay? If a clerk was to sell 1,000 stamps an hour, 1,000 stamps an hour, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, for a year, okay? 1,000 stamps an hour for an entire year, 5 days a week, that's 1,497,600. Okay? That's selling 1,000 stamps an hour. 1,497,600. So, that clerk would have to sell those stamps for 560 years to make up for what management lost. Let me say that again. Now, this is what our agents should be out there doing, right? This is what our agents should be saying, because the Postmaster General buried us with his narrative. I would say this is what we would have to do. You would have to have 560 clerks work an entire year selling 1,000 stamps per hour, 5 days a week, for a year. 560 clerks to make up for what management has lost from noncompliance. That's that number. That's that figure. One clerk would have to work 560 years selling 1,000 stamps an hour to make up for what management lost in noncompliance. Better yet, it would take a clerk selling at 78 cents per stamp 1.1 billion stamps to make that up. And where is our agent telling somebody that? You want to talk about going to the extremes right off the fucking jump. You've not done the first fucking thing to correct yourself. How many times have we said that on here? How many times have we said that? You've not done anything. You've got more management now than it ever before. It was 20-to-1 ratio, management to craft. Now it's like 7-8-to-1. And you still see these job fairs coming out. People keep sending me that about these job fairs, about hiring more supervisors, doing more Correct that. Where is our agent? Who is coming to our aid? Who is our champion during this period of time? I've got something from this fucking buffoon saying he's going to write something and put it in a record. I don't want you to write shit. Get your funky ass out there into the media and say, hey, look, they're talking about doing such drastic things as 5-day delivery, $1 a stamp, a part-time workforce, taking away all the overtime. Do you know what happens when you take away overtime? James and I talked about this. Do you know what suffers? Mail delivery. You're going to come into my station, and during these route counts and inspections, you're going to fuck us over because you don't know what the fuck you're going to do. And you're going to say, we're taking out 6 routes. Now my routes are overburdened, okay? My routes are overburdened, and what do you say? I'm going to cut out overtime. So what's been left behind? Mail. We are no longer the postal service. They're attempting to make us the postal business. That's what's happening. Mail is no longer considered anything. You can put that on the floor and leave that there for 2 or 3 days. They don't care about the routes. We're no longer the postal service. They're wanting us to be the postal business. We're not the postal business. We are a free service to the people, by the people. We make a shit ton of money. A shit ton of money. And we have no champion out there. I'm going to read to you just some things that I took off of social media. Just some things I took off of social media. Binance Square. Postal Service faces challenges in adapting package delivery market. Social Tab. U.S. Postal Service faces financial collapse in less than a year unless Congress provides aid. C-SPAN. Postmaster General David Steiner opened up his testimony of the state of the U.S. Postal Service. The U.S. Sun News. Say goodbye to 6-day a week USPS deliveries under radical cost-saving proposals. WBAL TV 11 Baltimore. At our current rate, we'll be out of cash in less than 12 months. Fed Week. Hearing upcoming on dire situation of USPS. More Perfect Union. Postmaster General says USPS might be forced to stop deliveries in 2027. Washington Times. U.S. Postal proposes raising first-class stamps price amid financial struggles. Business Insider. The USPS is nearing a financial breaking point. Federal News Network. USPS cutting delivery days on the table as agency runs out of cash. House Gov. Hearing wrap up. USPS must increase revenue and reduce costs to stay afloat. New York Post. USPS already lost $1.3 billion this year, and a cash shortage might halt mail delivery. CNN. U.S. Postal Service will run out of cash within a year without Congress's help. Reuters. U.S. Postal Service could run out of money as soon as October. WKRC. USPS may not deliver mail next year. Critical juncture. PBS. Watch Postmaster General Steiner testifies at House hearing on financial situation. Government executive. Nearly $1 stamps. Lawmakers contemplate how to avert USPS financial crisis. The Guardian. U.S. Postal Service will run out of money by February. NPR. The Postal Service may be out of cash in 2027 without Congress's help. People News. People Magazine. USPS may not deliver mail in a year and could run out of cash by 2027. WSB TV. USPS says it may not deliver mail in a year. PBS News. Postmaster General Steiner testifies at House hearing on financial future of USPS. New York Post Life. The mail may soon stop, and it's not because it's lost in transit. CNN News Source. USPS may not deliver mail next year. Critical juncture. That's just about 5 minutes of me on the web. About 5 minutes. They're controlling the narrative on us. Where is our agent? Where is our champion? Where is our person getting out there saying, hang on just a second. We know what y'all heard sounds real bleak. You got a lot of stuff that's come out talking about the financial situation of the Postal Service. Do y'all know that they've not done the first damn thing to correct themselves? before resorting to coming on here saying that they may be out of cash, before coming on here resorting to saying, hey, we may have to raise stamps to $1, before they came on here resorting to saying, hey, we may go to a 5-day work week, before they come on here resorting to saying, hey, we're going to cut out all overtime, on those people who need the overtime because we can't even afford a living wage for them, before we starve people out, let us do our own shit here by cutting management by about 80%. You want to talk about what's antiquated? The managerial position is antiquated. You don't need them anymore hardly. You want to talk about part-time? You want to talk about part-time? Hire them about 4 hours a day. That's all you need is about 4 hours a day. That's what could be part-time. We're actually doing the fucking work. But you've got management as bloated as it's ever been. Not the first damn thing done. You've got non-compliance, $1 billion. And I told y'all how that looked. Nothing done about that. Where's my agent? Where's my agent, my champion? Out there saying, let me go next. Let me go next. You've got willful and intentional delay of mail going on right now, costing us revenue. Packages not being delivered. Routes not being delivered. My carriers making subpar wages. We are no longer a service. They have fucked us over and given us such a black eye. Where's my agent? Where's the agent going out there? You talking about you want to fight back? Quit fighting back. Quit fighting back. Get out in front of it. And get out there into the public and say, hey, look here. The city letter carrier, the ones that y'all see every day, here's what we do. And here's what we've been kept from doing. That's the agent. Management wants to talk about, the service wants to talk about all these losses. Well, let me kind of fill y'all in on that. What's going on? Do you know why? And like James Henry and I were talking about, you'll hear that. In arbitration, what happens if you have a discipline case? Management goes first because it's their burden, right? We go second. Whenever management goes first, I will always tell the grievant, hey, just sit there. Don't react. If you need to write something, write it, but don't react to it. Don't make any kind of motions or gestures or sounds, because they're fixing to make you sound like you're the worst individual that's ever worked for the Postal Service. Just know that. Just know that. But when they're done, I've got my chance. I'll be coming, okay? And we're going to flip the script on them. Why? They're always going to make you sound terrible. They want the arbitrator to fire you. What's my job? To make sure he understands the truth, what's really happening. I'll always write them. When management finishes, I'll write them, the grievance. I'll say, watch this. Because I know I'm fixing to show the fuck out. I'll tell them, watch this right here. Watch what we're fixing to do right here. We're fixing to set the record straight. They want to make you sound like shit. I'm going to fix to make them sound like shit. That's all this is. The Postmaster General comes out and makes us look like shit. Where were we? We sat it out. You want to talk about fighting back? Win. Talking about fighting like hell? Win. That's what we're talking about as a craft as Light Blue. When are you going to fight like hell? That would have been the perfect opportunity to say, hang on just a second. I just listened to a bunch of shit yesterday. Let me set the record straight because we've been doing our fucking homework. We're going to write a statement. Well, motherfuck. That's just fucking great. Writing a fucking statement, that'll really get them. Fuck, that'll be all over the fucking news. I'm sure I'm going to look on social media and I'm going to look up the NLC's rebuttal, their statement, and it's going to be everywhere. They're controlling the narrative on this. Here's your president's fight like hell. I read all that shit to you. They have taken control of the grievance procedure under this president. They control the narrative under this president. What in the fuck is going on under this president? Does anybody know? What in the fuck is going on under this president? I hear fight like hell. I see signs fight like hell. I see shirts fight like hell. Everybody's wearing them. When are we going to fight like hell? About what? This motherfucker has been a colossal failure at every fucking thing he's done. And it chapped my ass when I read that. As you can tell. The Postmaster General getting up there and making us look like we're the worst organization in history. And my brothers and sisters out there every fucking day, day after day after day, doing their thing. And you're going to put a black eye on us. And my agent sat the motherfucking fight out. This is light fucking blue. When I tell you, in everything you do, put the city letter carrier first. Everything you do, and you'll succeed. I wanted to see my agent be my champion. I wanted to see my agent on every news organization saying, look here, I've got a little chart here for you. Y'all can put up right here. Here's where the money's going. Here's where the money's going, right here. Somebody put up a chart. I'm going to read it. How USPS loses billions every year. Now, these things, accurate, not accurate, I don't know. But you can put it up in front of the public. They won't know the difference. 35% is pre-funding for retirees. 10% upper management salary. 5% accidents, 5% loss of revenue due to less mail. 45% supervisors not following protocols with carriers' grievances. Something that simple. You could have just put it on a fucking chart and put it on the news. I'm sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of the carriers being the fucking bad guy. Where's my champion? As light blue. I'm coming as light blue because that's what I do, right? Now, I'm all over the place campaigning. What I do, I was delivering today, I'll deliver tomorrow, delivered yesterday. I'm light blue. So where's my fucking champion at? Where's my agent? Where's this fight like hell? When does that take effect? We're in fucking trouble, right? And so when I read that, and then I heard the Postmaster General, it chapped my fucking ass, I guess you can tell. Because I'm so sick of this shit. Us out there every fucking day doing what we fucking do. Shop stewards busting their fucking ass. You heard that testimonial earlier. Formulae busting their fucking ass, doing what they're supposed to do. DRT advocates busting their ass, doing what they're supposed to do. And your agent sitting the fucking fight out. Us on the street. It's fixing to get hot again. Already got management fucking with us. And I'll get into that next week. Next week I'll have a lot of shit we're going to talk about grievance-wise, okay? This is just me going to be bitching because I read that shit in the Postal Record from him just licking his own ass. And I'm thinking... I'm thinking, damn, dude, what the fuck is going on here? Talking about the fight he's putting up. When? How? Somebody send me something. I know there are a lot of ass kissers out there that listen to this. A lot of Renfro ass kissers. There's a lot of them, man. They're coming out of the woodworks too, man. They hate my fucking ass. They're coming out of the woodworks on social media at me. Good, come the fuck on. I love that fucking shit. They're out there. The establishment lackeys. Boot-licking asses, kissers. They're out there. So, one of y'all just message me and tell me one thing this motherfucker's done. I keep hearing this motherfucker's some savant when it comes to political shit. I didn't see the motherfucker in front of anybody. I didn't see him out there railing up support for us. I didn't see that. This savant, political savant. The bottom line is this, and I'll go, because I'm going to get to me and James next. You're going to enjoy that. James is going to be the next president. It won't be close. It's James, and then the next one's fighting for third place. So it's not going to be close. It's James against the establishment is what it is. Okay? The establishment is in the process of protecting the establishment. Getting that ass whipped will make strange bedfellows. You'll see that. You're already seeing it. Getting that ass beat makes strange bedfellows. So, the establishment's going to come out and try to protect the establishment. James Henry's got a slate of straight ass kickers. You heard some yesterday, right? That's what he's got. Those that are going to put the city letter carrier first, love the city letter carrier with everything they got, and take the fucking fight to management. We're not going to fight back. We've got to get out in front of it. We've got to take the fight to management, right? When I say get in the streets, that's what I'm talking about. We should have come. Here's another thing that pisses me off, and then I'll go. When Renfro was MIA during the first collective bargaining, the one he fucked up so bad, he immediately came out and said, we're in a great position, okay? We're in a great position to go to arbitration, and he did not. He waited 700 days, took a great opportunity to go for us to go to arbitration, because you can do it in 150 days. After 150 days, you can say, hey, let's get an arbitrator, get a date, let's get it rolling. He waited 700 days. We lost the Biden administration, and we got the Trump administration. Then he panics. He says, we got the Trump administration. We got to do something. We're going to do expedited arbitration. And then he crammed that shit down on us after we voted the TA down, after he waited 700 days and fucked us over royally. You were in a great place. Then we're in a terrible place because of his incompetence, right? Then you go to expedited arbitration. You stipulate that award. It was said in the decision. And now look where you are. Now look what's going on. You went from a great position, but your incompetence led us here to where now you have a postmaster general beating us to the narrative. I just read all that to you, saying that we're going to be out of cash in about 6 months, saying that we may not even be delivering mail. We're going to have to go to 5-day delivery. We're going to have to cut all the overtime out. And some arbitrator, national arbitrator, is looking at that, and we're fixing to go into national arbitration unless he fucks us over in another TA, and tell an arbitrator, hey, we need some money. They've beaten us at every fucking step. Why? Because this motherfucker's about fighting back. Brother, get that mindset out of there, fighting back. Take the fight to management every fucking chance you get. We've been saying that on here. Get in the fucking streets and get the public on your side. Make some kind of commercial about who we are, what we do. Tell the congressmen, congresswomen, look, here's what we do. You can't get to your parents every day. Every day we're on their porch talking to them. And you know what they tell us? They tell us that they're proud of you. They're proud of what you're doing. This is who we are. We take care of the community. We save lives. During COVID, we were a shot in the arm to the public. We were going around letting the public know everything's going to be okay, man. We're still making our rounds. We're still keeping y'all connected to the outside world. That's what we did during COVID. We're an easy sell, but the incompetence of this motherfucker has crushed us. Crushed us. Now look at us. Now look at us. In a fucking hole. And this motherfucker wants to write a statement. God help. Motherfuck. Listen to me, light blue. We're going to take over this motherfucker come next year. We're going to get voted in come November. Okay? Immediately, you will feel us. Immediately. The public will know who we are. Across the street, they will know who we are. This bitch ass attitude we have right now will be gone. Okay? Light blue, we're coming. I promise you that. I've always said this, and I mean it with everything in me. Light blue is the baddest motherfuckers walking. I honestly believe that. Nobody does what we do. Nobody. You look at what we go through. Nobody else does that. Nobody. Because we're 365, right? We are 365, 24/7. We're not just some Halloween costume that a motherfucker can put on once a year and think they're one of us. That's not who we are. My kids did that. They'd put on a Spider-Man uniform at Halloween and think they're Spider-Man. They'd put on a Superman uniform and think they're Superman. You got motherfuckers that will put our uniform on once a year and think, hey, I'm one of y'all. That's not who we are. We are 365, 24/7. It's a lifestyle is what we are. And what we have protecting us from these complete fucking buffoon-ass morons across the table from us is our agent, who is failing us right now, has failed us, and continues to do so. Where's our fucking champion at? Who is it? They're coming. They're coming, right? We're not a costume. We're a lifestyle. We're light fucking blue. Don't sell yourself short, babies. Hey. We are the baddest motherfuckers walking. I believe that with everything in me. I'm fixing to sit in a vehicle that's 130 degrees for about 4 months. That's what's coming to us. That's what we can look forward to coming up. That struggle, right? We just got out of snow, ice, freezing cold. We just got out of that because we're a lifestyle. We're fixing to get into the summer because it's a lifestyle, light blue. That's what we do. We get ourselves ready for that. Okay? We don't have to go looking for a uniform to put on every so often to say I'm one of y'all. Fuck that. Don't sell yourself short, babies. We're the baddest motherfuckers out there. Our agent needs to get up off their fucking ass and do agent type shit. We need a champion. We ain't got one. We got straight cowardly ass motherfuckers up there fucking us over. Fight like hell. Motherfucker win. Win. I ain't seen it yet. I read a list of shit you ain't done. I want a motherfucker to write me and say, well, he has done this. Somebody do that. One thing this motherfucker's done to fight. One thing. He fought harder against that female down there in Biloxi, Susie Miller. He fought harder against her than he has management. Called her a bitch. I bet this motherfucker wouldn't call management a bitch. I bet he wouldn't go into some meeting and call management a bitch, but he felt comfortable enough to call one of his presidents, one of his branch presidents, a female a bitch. Is that the fight like hell you're talking about? Motherfucker should have got all of his teeth knocked out then. Fight like hell. You fought harder against a young lady that told you no than you have management. Cowardly motherfucker, you. All right. Well, that's all I got. But I can't stand to read a motherfucker coward going to talk about how much he's fighting. I can't stand that shit. I just can't. You know, we're out here doing it. And you got some clown ass sitting there talking about how much he's fighting for us. Motherfucker wouldn't know how to fight. God. Shit. All right, you got the Wolf fixing to come up. This is going to be a long one because I think him and I go about an hour. But you got the Wolf coming up. You're going to enjoy that. But like I said, my man was sleepy, boy. He's gone about 3 hours of sleep in 2 days. We're sleeping more on a plane than we are in a bed here lately. And that's the truth. We're sleeping more on a plane than we are in bed. But it's worth it. Getting out there, seeing our people, telling them who we are. This election's critical. We'll win it. The city letter carrier is tired of this shit, and they need a champion. We're coming. But I love you, Light Blue, and it pisses me off that my agent doesn't. It really does. It pisses me off that they don't love us. They should. They should appreciate us, not just write stupid shit and say stupid shit. But, yeah, I love you. Even if you don't like me, I love you. I'm going to fight for you. If you come on my page and say dumb shit, I love you. And I'm going to fight for you because it's who we are. It's what we do, right? So y'all have a fantastic rest of the week. I'll be back Sunday. We're going to have a lot of stuff, educational stuff, okay? I just needed to do this because the Postmaster General, we didn't even rebut that shit, which mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. How you don't rebut that bullshit dude was talking about. But anyway, who am I? But I love you. I love you. Y'all be safe this week. Have a great week, okay? And I'll talk to you Sunday, all right? Bye. All right, I got the Wolf with me. He's a tired wolf. We've been all over the place, my brother, man. Going out, meeting our people. Had a great week this week. Going to Charlotte, North Carolina Tuesday. That was a great meeting.
Absolutely.
Unexpectedly, they unanimously endorsed us, which we didn't see coming, but obviously, that's thrilling because they listened to the message, and just to have them that excited, so much inspiration comes off of that, James. It keeps you going, it keeps you're driven to go, and because we're bushed.
Man, we are too poop to pop, brother. I promise you that. But it was really, really a real fantastic week. And like I said, in Charlotte, the President Sly and all of his officers and stewards and members and those that traveled in from around the area to come see us was exceedingly encouraging, brother. Very, very much so.
Yeah. And, everywhere we go, James, we shut the place down. North Carolina was no different. We stayed there until the last person left, answering whatever questions they had. And so it can never be a thing of they don't answer questions, because we've stayed everywhere we go. We turn the lights out on that thing when we leave. Staying, accessibility, making sure that people have questions. We're going to answer them however long it takes. And North Carolina was no different. We shut the place down. We turned the lights out when we left. Giving people an opportunity. If you got any questions you need to ask us, man, we're available.
But so much so that we overstayed the rental agreement for the branch.
We got kicked out.
Yes. We had actually answered questions after our presentation or our speeches. And then after the adjournment of the meeting, we stayed again, however long that any and everyone wanted to ask us questions. That was during inside the hall, and then outside in the parking lot as well.
Yeah.
And that has been a constant with us, because we're there for one reason only, and that is to illustrate and demonstrate to the membership that not only are we a part of you, but we are interested in any and everything that you have to say, because this movement is about us, the entire collective bargaining unit of city letter carriers, along with us. And so, yes, and that's not going to stop.
Yeah. Well, my favorite thing you talk about is that it's not about me, it's about we.
Absolutely.
And everywhere you go, if you wanted it to be about me, just vote for Renfro. He's a lone wolf. No disrespect to you being the wolf, but he's kind of a lone wolf. He don't need anybody else. It's about me. And you see where that got us. You see where that got us.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I always, like you stated, I always state this is not anti Renfro as much as it is pro us. It is about we, the
Yeah.
letter carrier craft, what we are all trying to get accomplished, what we expect out of our leadership, what we expect to accomplish, what we expect to be able to live our lives with a living wage and
Yeah.
having a harmonious workroom floor, you know. So those kind of things that right off the top should be first and foremost in everyone's mind and representative of the CLC, the Concerned Letter Carrier slate, that we are about a living wage, we are about a harmonious and hostile-free work environment, we are about security of the letter carrier, having an all-career workforce. And so those kind of things that anyone that's listened to us speak know that is what we've placed the emphasis on and our priorities.
Yeah.
And say we're accessible, not
Yeah.
only during the meetings, thereafter.
Yeah.
Anyone that's wanted our numbers, if they didn't have them, they can call us, and we always get back with them. So,
Yeah.
nevertheless,
Well, you're the only one running on a platform about education, which is shocking to me. Your priority is educating the workforce. My thing the whole time I've been doing my podcast, James, is an educated workforce is a devastating thing, not an educated union. And we're going to educate those shop stewards, Formula A's, like I say, but an educated workforce is a devastating thing. You put priority one on educating the workforce, hence Paul Bolanger, Director of Education. And he's already tasked with getting things together. I mean, you've already seen it play out in real time with the JSOV training we just had, the LMOU training, 6-day count training, accessible to anybody and everybody, not just stewards. Anybody that wants to get on there that to educate themselves can. But you're the only candidate running on a platform of educating the workforce, which to me is criminal that you're the only one. Dealing with the toxic working environment. Nobody else is talking about it, which is criminal because any survey that you see, there's been a bunch. Number one, James, is our wages, obviously.
yes.
It'll always be number one. But right there, 2, 3 is the toxic working environment. What are we going to do with these managers that are toxic, that have created a toxic environment, that thrive on that? And you said, hey, Corey, that's your thing. You're gonna take control of that. You're going to make sure. And so you and I talked long ago and came up with a catchy little phrase, the dogs of war. But you know, James, everywhere we go, how many people come up and talk about, hey, I'm interested in the dogs of war. I want to be on the dogs of war. Everywhere we go.
Everywhere we go. And I am a firm believer, brother, as you know, that you're only as strong as your weakest link. And this is why we said an educated workforce is not just restricted to the branch officers or the shop stewards. Every single letter carrier, in my view, and our goal would be as to know as much as you and I know as relates to the collective bargaining agreement, Postal
Yeah.
Service rules and regulations governing this agency. The fact of the matter comes down to is that every single office won't have stewards, and even if you do, the 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 ability to recognize violations in real time, the comfort and the security of being knowledgeable, because that old adage that knowledge is power will unite the workroom floor because they have the knowledge and know that they're right and don't have to be hesitant about bringing issues to the forefront. So again, knowledge is power, and you're only as strong as your weakest link. And so every single letter carrier, in my view, should be educated. Every single letter carrier should have access to education. Everyone should be in a position to be mentored and be educated by the officers or the trainers when it comes to the Postal Service's rules and regulations, when it comes to our collective bargaining agreement. And no one, you're talking about criminal, no one should have to go to work trying to dip in and dip out because they feel that just being in the same room as those managers that they got to take a shower,
Yeah.
or being in a situation where they're feeling all uneasy and awkward. You should not, as I often say, spend more time trying to keep your job than doing your job. So all
Yeah.
of those things, I said, with the Dogs of War, they'll be dealing with those things, making sure that our people feel good and empowered, that they have a job that's going to be able to put a roof over their head, food on their table, and clothes on their back by providing and aiding in getting a living wage. So all of those things, as you stated, that we have been placing emphasis on as we've been going around.
Yeah. And it's been encouraging. We went to Miami. That was
Yes, sir.
Wednesday.
Thanks to
And
Brother Stephon Walker and
yep,
his crew.
yep, had a good, lively crew down there. And so you spoke there, Groskopf, myself, Miss Kamitra, we did not speak, but we were also accessible there. We shut that place down as well. And
Yes.
that was a great meeting. A lot of individuals coming up talking to us about the same things, our vision, our plan, Dogs of War again. And that was another great meeting. Just getting around, seeing our people. Had Northwest Indiana Thursday. That was another fantastic meeting.
Yes.
We did, we'd all got to speak there, which is always good. They could hear, what you and I just talked about, education. But for those three, it was a fantastic time with our union brothers and sisters, kind of going over who we are, what we're going to bring to the table. Again, the only ones talking about educating the floor, toxic working environment. So it was an encouraging week.
Absolutely. It was a very encouraging week. And we've had several before, when we were out in other places, Denver and Phoenix and Louisville and San Jose, and just too many to recount right now. And we have an awful lot ahead of us. But as we said, we're going to run through the tape, brother. And every single letter carrier that want us to meet with them, we're making every effort to do so. And as I've stated, and you stated here, we don't care if it's 2 or 2,000. Every single letter carrier is loved and welcomed by us. Nobody is bigger or better than anyone else. So we're doing our absolute best to be able to demonstrate that. And that's not going to end when we get into office. So this is here a demonstration about what we bring to the table as our philosophy with this union going forward.
Yeah, well, it's not foreign. If you love the city letter carrier, James, which is why I'm completely sold into you and the CLC movement, is because they love the city letter carrier. They're about what I'm about. They're about the business of the city letter carrier, putting the city letter carrier first. It's not about me, like we say, it's about we. And if I didn't feel that the CLC was about that business, I surely wouldn't be spending all my money and time going around to all these places.
Yeah.
But you got to put the city letter carrier first in everything that you do. You got to love the city letter carrier with all your heart. And that's what it's all about. And the perfect example of that was last night in Stockton, California. I'd say that that's the perfect example because you, me, Khomeini, we all went there. We knew that we were not going to speak. It was not political. You spoke about MDA, the importance of MDA, how important that is to the NALC and to the members. I did not speak. Howard did not speak. And it was about one thing only, showing support for a fantastic president, a fantastic branch who absolutely showed out. There's about 400 there, which is so impressive.
Yes.
I mean, you got to get up there. You didn't say anything about campaigning for anything. You just talked about MDA and the importance of MDA. But that shows that level of commitment. We knew we weren't going to speak. We knew we weren't going to get up there and say, hey, this is our platform. This is what we're going to do. But it was somebody who said, would y'all mind coming out, just showing some love? And so we did. And just got back a little while ago. It's Sunday night. And you yet to fly back. And so
yes.
And I know you're tired, but that's what it's all about. Actions speak louder than words, and we're about that action, and that's what I love about it.
No, you're 100% correct. And we want to say thank you to Branch 213 as well about the event that they put on and hosting us and allowing us to share in that celebration and raising an awareness for MDA. They even had an ambassador there that suffers from the disease. And what it was all about is, again, as you aptly stated here, is showing support for that which we love. The letter carriers, that what's important to them is important to us. That event, that cause is important to them, along with the other things, is important to us. So we did not have a problem at all. And so I was really honored and felt privileged to be there.
No, like I said, no one going in there that we weren't going to speak. Flying from Nashville out there, Howard coming in from Hawaii, you coming in from Washington, just to be around our people.
Absolutely.
Fantastic time.
Yes.
And we had a blast, man. I don't dance, but a lot of people are dancing. I have no rhythm, James. I'm white all the way through, and I have no rhythm whatsoever.
but we did have a major appetite last night, did we not?
Hey, those ribs and the potato, the bread. I don't know whether it's because I'm on a diet, so I was starving. Everything was first class, man.
Yes,
everything it was unbelievable. And yeah. I mean, we ate till I was sick. But yeah, that was good stuff.
Right.
But we have Pittsburgh Thursday.
Yes.
And we'll be going there.
Looking
we will
forward
be able to
that.
talk to them.
Yes.
We'll be representing our brother, Mr. Bill Kriebel, who's on vacation.
Yes.
And I'll read a statement from him. And you're talking about a fantastic individual in Bill Kriebel.
He truly is, and I'm honored to have him on our slate running for Region 12 NBA.
So let's talk about Postmaster General.
Yes, sir.
Because that's something that you and I talked a lot about while it was going on. And no rebuttal from my union, which absolutely pisses me off. That we let somebody get up there and basically throw the city letter carrier under the bus, talking about, the issues are we need to cut out overtime. Well, that's talking about us. And the issues are we need to go to a more, temporary part-time workforce. Well, that's talking about us. No mention of management, how engorged they are right now. There's more management than there's ever been. There's more work than there's ever been, James, but there's less workers than there's ever been. There's less craft. But you used to have a 20-to-1 ratio management to craft. Now it's somewhere 7 to 8 to 1. Nothing mentioned about that. So you know who should do that, James? The agent, the union should rebut that. I keep hearing all these things about this political genius that we have as a president. Where is he? Where was he? I didn't see anything. I looked up and I talked about this already and went off on it. But I looked up Postal Service going broke, and there's probably 150 things about us going broke. Looked up union's response, nothing.
Absolutely, nothing. And that's very disappointing.
It's tragic.
It is, because it at least gives the impression, whether or not we are or not, it gives the impression that we're sleeping behind the wheel. And what the story is, that the PMG comes out and he gives the Postal Service perspective from his standpoint or his view that we're on the brink of being bankrupt within a year and won't be able to deliver mail. And the solution is one or two things: cutting out overtime and penalty overtime, which I guess they can attempt to try and accomplish that by many ways, by not, as he indicated, delivering mail, and essentially flipping our workforce and reducing our workforce to a temporary status or part-time status employees. That is the antithesis of everything that we believe in. It's counter to what we believe in. We believe that union jobs should present and promote and sustain career-oriented jobs. We're fighting, or should be fighting, as a union, and one of the things that we, the CLC slate, is a huge proponent of is that of a all-career workforce. But for us to essentially be sleeping behind the wheel and do not respond to the Postmaster General with what he stated and on all seemingly news media has put our back against the wall as a union, so to speak, in my view, because what it's done is it forces you to take a look at how are they conducting themselves. They're out there, in my view, opening bargaining. They're out there tainting the land. They are out there toiling the seed or planting the seed, making it where all those that hear are convinced as to the dire straits of the Postal Service. And unfortunately, arbitrators are human, just like we are. And you cannot tell me that them hearing that it will not have some kind of impact on them. And we got to keep in mind, as that old saying about consider the source, the Postmaster General, one, we have competing interests in this regard as far as our upcoming collective bargaining agreement, or that we are currently in the throes of. And he comes from a private industry, private company of FedEx. Their approach to how you handle things are entirely different than that of ours. They're about slashing and cutting and making as much profit as possible at all costs. The end justify the means. We are about sustaining, providing a living wage and stability for workers, getting them from hire date to retirement date. And none of that has come into play as it relates to the Postal Service. But this is where we, as a union, should be standing up and saying that, hey, Mr. Postmaster General, that what you're saying here, before you go out and put all of this into the universe, let's take a review of what you've done. What have you been doing as a Postmaster General and as a agency to contribute to the circumstances that you are ascribing? Have you cut management allocations? How are you allocating your money? Have you sought to raise prices on any of the products that we have, whether it's stamps or any other merchandise? Have you placed emphasis on your managers and your supervisors in complying with the grievance procedure and settlements and not wasting close to $1 billion in that regard? That is not in dispute. That is indisputable. You had an OIG report that come out and that affirmed that.
Yeah.
And so, don't come crying poverty with 2 loaves of bread under each arm when you could do other things than cutting the letter carriers' careers, making it an undesirable job by making it part-time or temporary, whatever the scheme may be, and to go out there and basically try and shame us into taking less than what it is that we are deserving and should be demanding at this particular point. And so it is unconscionable, in my view, for us not to have responded to this here. It has been the talk of the town, if you want to use that term, for the last several days. And what have we done? Nothing but crickets as it relates to that.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the manner in which this was done, I think is ill-timed, because incidentally, we're in collective bargaining negotiations right now, right?
Yeah.
And it appears as if we're fighting with one hand tied behind our back. Why aren't we going to the public like the Postal Service doing and saying what it is that we believe is the story? What is our counter narrative to that? It has not been brought forward at this particular point in time. You heard of anything?
I looked it up. I talked about this earlier, like I said. looked up Postal Service going broke, and there's probably 100 things on 100 different news agencies about us going broke. So they're winning the narrative battle. They've gotten out there.
But here's the bad part about it, Corey, that the last year, the Postal Service made $80.5 billion, an increase of 1.2% in revenue. But yet they're reporting that they have a loss of $9 billion. They are making money. They increased their profit. They increased their money. It's not like we're not making money.
Yeah.
Had a 1.2% increase. But yet the way the money has been allocated is an issue. And like I said, I don't want to hear you crying poverty with 2 loaves of bread under each arm. And I view it that way when there are monies that's there, but your priorities and how it's being spent is certainly not on the letter carrier craft for the workers.
Yeah. Anytime a Republican president gives the State of the Union, what happens? The Democrats come out with a rebuttal. Anytime a Democratic president gives a State of the Union, what happens? Republicans come out with a rebuttal. Where was our rebuttal? I mean, dude just basically got up there and had free reign on us, saying whatever he wanted to say. Talking about 5-day delivery is a possibility. Cutting out overtime, that's us. 5-day delivery, that's us. Talking about a temporary workforce, that's us. Nothing about mismanagement, nothing about, when we talk about bloated management, that's, they continue to increase. All these people sending me these scanner messages all week about these job fairs they're having. They've already got too much management. They refuse to cut them. I've said this a million times, James. Show me one supervisor manager that's lost their position for losing hundreds of thousands of dollars in non-compliance. You can't. So they don't care about that. They don't care about losing money. All they want to do is cut us. And we had no rebuttal. We had nobody on our side, the agent, silent during that entire time. And that infuriated me. Because to me, I'm going to come out and if I'm the committee, I'm going to start grilling his ass on all these different things. But if I'm the president of this union, I'm going to get on any news media that will have me talking to all these congressmen and senators saying, hold on, what he's feeding y'all is a bunch of shit. They've not done the first damn thing to correct anything before going to such drastic measures as 5-day delivery, going to such drastic measures as a temporary workforce, going to such drastic measures as we're going to cut out all the overtime, because the thing that suffers when you say you're going to cut out overtime is delivery.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's trying to make us the United States Postal business rather than the United States Postal Service, because he's trying to run us like FedEx. You can't do that. We're a free service by the people to the people. And so you have to treat us like that. We're not in it to make money, but we do. And it's a tragedy that my president didn't get out there and raise complete hell saying, hold on, all that's a crock of shit. Every bit of that's a crock of shit, because they can't show you the first thing that they've done to save anything. And I can point you to a dozen right now and try to change the narrative, because they're winning the narrative on social media and on the news. They've been doing it. I've been saying forever, James, you got to get out into the public and win the public over. You got to tell them, hey, all this stuff that they're saying, it's not true. It's not the city letter carrier. We're the ones who are doing our job every single day. We don't manage this place. We deliver y'all's mail. We take care of y'all. And we're not doing that. We're letting them run all over us right here, like you say, in the time of collective bargaining. And they're trouncing us on the media. And this president, who all these people saying he's such soothsayer when it comes to politics, he's a genius. Where in the fuck is he?
Man.
What difference does it make if you're a political genius and you don't speak up for your people as the agent? You don't speak up for us. Where in the fuck is that? And so I don't get it.
No, I agree with you 100%. And you hear me say almost everywhere I go, and anyone that's been around me any period of time, I've stated over and over and over and over again that the best ability is dependability. And that's just not no cliche for me, something that just sounds good or rhymes. It is a basic principle that I believe should be applied to everyone, because again, it doesn't matter how smart, how much experience you have, or any of that, how eloquent you speak, how gifted you are in any particular way. If you cannot be relied upon, it doesn't mean nothing. And
Yeah.
what we seemingly can't rely upon right here is to be able to have, consistent or someone that has our back, as I say, like vertebrae. And what
Yeah.
should be happening here is that we should see things for how they are, not for how we want them to be. This is the problem that most people do. They see things for how they want them to be versus how they are. Well, we want the Postal Service to engage in good faith bargaining with us at both the local level, area level, and the national level. It's been supposed to be, generally speaking, that we're not going to negotiate and bargain in public. But you cannot tell me that that's not exactly what that is happening right there. In the midst of negotiations right now, because we open up, it was February 25th, we open up collective bargaining agreement negotiations, and you have the Postmaster General out there in prominent form in the media stating that we're going to be bankrupt within a year and possibly within 6 months, and that we need to have the career workforce made in large part a part-time workforce, perhaps even temporary, when we should be going into the negotiations, asking the arbitrator to give us an all-career workforce.
Yeah.
And you have the Postmaster General, the CEO of the Postal Service, out there putting in the universe the exact opposite. You cannot tell me that that is not counterproductive to working in good faith. You cannot tell me that it's not counter to what should be expected when you're talking about you're not going to negotiate or bargain openly within the public, and you're getting the public sympathy for the Postal Service as such. So when you start talking about a Postal Service that when you have a letter carrier start saying, hey, we should be making a minimum starting wage of $30 an hour. We should be industry leaders when it comes to wages, benefits, and working conditions. And we want the public to understand what our labor is worth. And when a lot of them are making a lot less than that, or their wages are not keeping pace with inflation and the cost of living and all of these other things as well, how much sympathy are they going to have for us, particularly when they take it from someone, the very top individual, in this instance, the Postmaster General? A lot of people are going to swallow it whole and say, well, what do you expect? Because in anybody's mind, when you hear $9 billion lost, billion with a B, that invokes sympathy for those that are suffering loss. And you cannot tell me that the service is not keenly aware of that. And this is where we should have our own media campaign. Like I said, we should be taking it to the streets. We should be fighting fire with fire in this instance. We should not even give the perception of sleeping behind the wheel. We should have had a robust response to the PMG, period. Full stop.
Well, you're the greatest. I would say you're the greatest advocate we've ever had, arbitration advocate. Your record speaks for itself. I don't think anybody else can put their record up with as many cases as you've done. What they've done, what the Postmaster General and his people have done, James, is make the public the arbitrator. And he's put his case in chief on in front of the public. He's given his opening statement to the public, the arbitrator. So since he went first, we're going to say this is a discipline case. Anytime you go, and you know what I'm talking about, anytime you go into arbitration, the arbitrator is going to come in there. They don't know what they're dealing with. They'll probably look at the case file and see that it's a C. They'll know that that's contract, or a D. They know that's discipline. And so they'll say, all right, we got a discipline case. So, manager, you're going to go first. And so they'll have to put their opening statement on. That's what he did to us. He put his opening statement on to the arbitrator, the public. And we did not come back and address it. It will always sound terrible when you let the service say their opening statement. I've always told the grievant, look, they're fixing to make you sound like the worst individual that's ever worked at the post office. Just relax. Because once they're finished, I get my chance. And then
Absolutely.
I'm gonna flip the script on them. And I'm gonna say, hey, Mr. Arbitrator, what they just said, let me tell you what they did. Here's what they did to this individual right here in the process. And we're going to raise all kind of procedural due process violations. They failed to meet just cause. And then the arbitrator is going to say, well, what y'all told me initially don't sound too good now because the unions come around and they put a heavy burden on you. They kind of, it's that pendulum. They swung it back on you pretty damn good. And so we never did that. We let them give their opening statement to the arbitrator, the public. We never came back with our opening statement to say, hey, look, what they just said about all these losses, about all these extremes, here's the real story. Here's the real deal. Here's what y'all need to be looking at. Because you know why? At the end of the day, public loves the city letter carrier. Not so much the post office. The public loves the city letter carrier. They want to cheer for us. They want us to
Absolutely.
succeed. And just like you said earlier, when we're out there picketing or marching and doing these rallies saying, we want more money, and the public sees the postmaster general, hears him, goes on there and say, hey, we may be out of business by February of next year. We're running out of cash. And here we are walking around in a circle saying, we want more money.
Right.
Who looks bad? We
That
do.
makes sense. Absolutely. Without having a equal and probable counter to everything that they say.
Yeah.
And like I said, and I just think that this is not coincidental that the timing has occurred for him to come out and say this now. He said he been basically quiet. He got on into this position, July of last year, and you basically hadn't heard a peep out of him until now, right? And so the reality of it is, brother, is that we have to be about our business, and we cannot be caught up in some fake rapport that we think that we have with the Postal Service, right? We, and we understand, you and I understand from having to do arbitrations and having to interact with management on all sorts of things at all levels, that there takes a level of cooperation. But you should not capitulate. You can cooperate without capitulating. And the fact that perception in most people's eyes is their reality, like I said, if the perception is that the Postal Service is in fact going to go bankrupt, that services will cease and desist, then that invokes sympathy for the Postal Service, not for the employee, the letter carriers. So, like I said, miss me with all of that until you show me that you have done everything that you can to trim the fat. That's like me saying, as my own personal finances, that to my family and friends, I need you guys to give me some money because I'm going to be homeless within the next 6 months, and the next year be completely foreclosed and out on the street with my belongings. And the natural common sense question people are going to be asked, well, you do have a job, right? So yeah, you do have income coming in. What is it that you're doing with your money? Well, are you going to be homeless because you're deciding that you want to take a cruise every other month?
Right.
Are you going to be homeless because you want to decide that you want to ride around in a Range Rover versus a Ford, or Ford Escort? Are you going to be homeless because you decide that you want to eat out every night versus going grocery shopping and cooking some food? Or what are you doing with your money? So that would be the same analogy that would be put forth to the post office. Are we going to be broke because we don't have any income coming in? The record speaks for itself. The Postal Service increased its revenue. We're making money. It's not that we're not making money, but what's important to them is not the same thing that's important to us. How are you spending your money? First, let's recapture virtually $1 billion by you complying with the grievance procedure. Let us capture another $1 billion or more by you trimming the fat with all this excess management. As you stated, instead of having a ratio of 20-1, we got a ratio of 7 or 8-1. You know, let's recapture some of those millions of dollars by making sure that we manage actually in its real purest form the service, and then come talk to us about, well, we're still short. But to go to the public like you've done and for us to be completely silent is unconscionable to me.
Yeah.
And so this is not something that we're saying a day later or 2 days later. It's been several days, and it has been very prominent on the news, on the internet. So that's not something that our leadership doesn't know or should not have known of. So we need to get on the good foot.
Yeah.
And here's the good news, though, brother. Here's the good news, is that you and I understand that not only do we have the letter carriers as state light blue first and foremost at heart, that comes in many forms. And one of the forms that people like to try and attribute it to us, which is totally a false narrative, is that we don't care about the Postal Service. We care about the Postal Service. Because if there's no Postal Service, there's no letter carriers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the fact of the matter is like I said, we can reform our union and save the Postal Service at the same time.
Yeah.
Don't let nobody fool you or convince anyone that's listening of the opposite. So what we need to do is make sure that we get our message out, that we mobilize our people, that we show that what the Postal Service is saying is a misrepresentation of its proper facts and not and is not in context. Yet I can, like I said, in my personal finances, I could be losing $2,000, $10,000 or whatever a month if I'm spending my money incorrectly.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm gonna read, this is out of the postal record. This is what kind of pisses me off. It's in the quotation. I know you're fixing that to head out. Instead of taking a nap, you got on here, and I appreciate it, brother. I know you're tired as hell because you fixing to fly out. You're gonna take a nap, and implored you to come on here. So you sleepwalking.
Man.
I can see it.
Man, this here is, brother, this is important. You heard me state the other night that when you and I talk about all the places that we've been going, that has been on our own time and dime, and to the point where some of it is without pay, right? Mm-hmm. And what did I say? I said, but I'm not saying that to induce any kind of sympathy from you, but as much to illustrate to you that we care, because the hallmark of anybody that truly cares is their ability, willingness, and capacity to sacrifice. That what you love and you care for, you're going to sacrifice. And so this is where we are right now, is that we need to sacrifice that of our, what do they call it, paradigm shift, is that the way things have always been done before don't mean that's the way that they need to be done now. And we have a different individual that's heading up the Postal Service that never worked for the Postal Service. He has no love or any kind of sympathy or empathy for the carriers here. We're just a statistic. We're just numbers. Mm-hmm. How do we get into the black in his mind? Whatever it costs, whatever means necessary is what he's willing to do. It appears that way. Yeah. And as such, we have to be willing to sacrifice of our own time to go out and take it to the streets and be able to say that, all right, if you want to go into the meaning of the union, if you want to go ahead and make it a public issue, we can do the same thing, because it is not something that we should be standing around getting punched in the nose about.
Yeah. This is out of the postal record, and this is kind of what pisses me off. It's in quotations. NELC will continue leading advocacy effort for necessary policy and administrative changes to stabilize the agency's finances, NELC President Brian Renfro said. Said to who? Who did he say it to? Because I ain't heard anything. Did he say it to the postal record, the people printing this or typing this? Folks, I've not heard a statement. So who did he say it to when they said, President Brian Renfro said? It says, however, we will fiercely fight limiting letter carriers' workers' compensations benefits in any way or increasing usage of non-career employees in our craft as some in the hearing suggested. Even suggesting such foolish actions are insulting to America's hardworking letter carriers. Local postal management's lack of contract compliance cost the agency hundreds of millions of dollars. An agency that struggles to uphold the basic tenets of a mutual agreement should not have sole control over something as critical as workers' compensation claims. The current non-career workforce in the city carrier craft is a failed experiment. Now, of course, he shoved that down our throats in the last TA when he told us that it's either a non-career workforce or it's a non-starter, an all-career workforce or it's a non-starter. Remember that?
Yeah.
He said, hey, it's either an all-career workforce or it's a non-starter. Of course, we voted that down and he shoved it down our throats anyway. But him saying the current non-career workforce in the city carrier craft is a failed experiment is 100% on him because he did not fight for us. He stipulated that on us. So we will keep fighting like hell, which is his new mantra, for a secure future for the Postal Service. But we'll fight even harder against those who push any changes that would potentially harm our dedicated, hardworking members. He said, again, said to who? Then it says this, following the hearing, NELC will submit comments for the record. What in the fuck does that matter? Who gives a shit about that? Who's going to read the son of bitches? Following the hearing, NELC will submit comments for the record. What fucking record?
Yeah,
they're beating the shit out of us. He's talking about typing something up and sending it in.
Well, it appears that he got the jump on us this time, meaning Steiner.
Yes. Yeah. But to me, as soon as he finished, I'm going to call every news agency I know. Say, hey, I need to holler at y'all for a second about that shit y'all just heard. Here's the real facts. And it just didn't happen. And so, but the good thing is, James, is that we're going to take care of that come the end of this year when we win. And when we get in there, these type of things will never happen again because probably the strongest advocate we've ever had will be the president. And I'm not going to tolerate that shit as the executive vice president. And we will call everybody and anybody we've got to and say, hey, let's get on the record here about what y'all just heard. Because every news media outlet is running with this, and we're silent.
Yes. Unacceptable in my view.
Yeah.
So,
well, brother, anything else you want to say? I know you're sleepy as hell, but you got to go get on the airplane. You're probably going on about, what, 3 hours of sleep over the last 2 days?
Something like that, because we was up at 3:30 this morning and then getting to bed until after after midnight or something like that. But, like I said here, it's one of those necessary sacrifices at this particular point in time. I get an opportunity. Fortunately, my layover brought me through Cali, so I get a chance to see my ailing moms for a couple of hours, which did my heart real good. And I'm back on the grind tomorrow, trying to make life better, along with you and several other advocates, union activists, that is, for letter carriers. And I'm honored to be on this journey with you, brother, and all the rest of the members on our CLC slate. I could not be more proud to serve with each and every one of you. I have been exceedingly grateful for all the thoughtfulness and consideration and hospitality that's been shown to us by the branches and even individuals in and of themselves. I know that you had mentioned before Michael Bowders, out of Colorado who opened up his home. Even you have opened up your home to me, and I'm grateful for that.
That's
You and
right.
your lovely wife. We've had former NBA of Region 9, Kenny Gibbs, that offered to allow me to come stay at his home when we went over there in Miami. We have Wayne Green down in Winston-Salem, president there, that offered to let me stay at his home. We've had another letter carrier that the people, someone that you don't even know, that offers to try and help us in our journey in getting across the country. And we are very, very, very grateful. Like I say, Rick McLaughlin, Keontae Robinson, we have Ernie and Caroline Jones. We have just the host. If I forget somebody, just forgive me, because it's just been a really outpouring of love and people trying to help keep this engine going down the track until we get across the finish line. And like I said, we're going to run all the way through the tape, and it's something that I genuinely believe in. I genuinely believe in it. This is not, I mean, anyone that's here listening on here, this is not about no kind of prestige. Being the president, the executive vice president, for me and Corey, are just the byproducts of our love for the letter carrier. That is not the reason why we do it. We're not doing it for any prestige. We're not doing it for no personal gain. We're doing it because we see that there is a need, and we're stepping into the gap to try and fill it on behalf of our brothers and sisters of the letter carriers. So there is even more so need that I'm asking of each one of you, is that you go on concernedlettercarriers.com and that you endorse and support, so we can have all your information, so we can be able to communicate with you. Like and follow us on our social medias, the Instagram, Facebook, Twitter/X, TikTok, YouTube, so you'll know when we're doing training, so you'll know where we're going from place to place, and then we'll be able to also communicate with you instantly. And if you so happen to believe in our cause, which is about us, please take the opportunity on our website as well, concernedlettercarriers.com, to click the donate button and donate. That whatever amount you provide, we're going to be grateful for, because we want to be able to do a nationwide mailing, and you have give or take 290,000 letter carriers. The postage alone is 78 cents. So we need your help. But nevertheless, because every dime that we have been taking in, we've been saving that for a nationwide mailing. We have been traveling on our own dime ourselves, along with the others that are on our slate that go. So again, thank you for your time and listening this evening. We will always be available to you, by personal phone or whatever the case may be. We are about bringing this union back to where it once was and where it can be and rightfully should be. I love the NLC. I love my brothers and sisters. I'm proud to be a member of the NLC, but there's always room for improvement. But we cannot do it without you. We cannot effect change without you. So please join us, be engaged, and be blessed.
Brother, you know I love you, James, and there's nobody I'd rather be on this journey with than you. Your integrity is unlike anything I've ever seen. The amount of people that come after you, and you stay focused on one thing, and that's the city letter carrier and getting across the finish line. Like I said last week, you're concentrating on the right thing, the finish line, so that we can invoke change on the NLC and the city letter carrier craft on the workroom floor. And everybody else is focused on you. And that's a good place to be. You stay focused on the finish line, brother, and we're going to be all right. And let everybody else focus on you. A lot of people chirping back behind you. Don't look back, brother. Ain't nothing back there. We've already been there. You keep focused on that finish line, my man, and everything's
appreciate
going to be
you.
good. All right?
All right, my brother. Be blessed, man.
All right, James. Love you, man. I'll talk to you later.
All
I
right.
appreciate you, man. I'll see if you can get about a 10-minute nap in before you got to catch that plane.
All right, my brother. Take care.
All right, man. We'll see you. Bye.
Yeah.